Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to service the rear brakes on this 2006 Chevy Impala. We're going to show you the right hand or passenger side. Same procedure for the left hand or driver's side. And the brakes on this vehicle are in good shape, so we just take them apart and put them back together to show you. Tools you'll need are 13, 14, and 19 millimeter sockets with a ratchet, a breaker bar or a pipe for extra leverage, T30 Torx bit, flat plate screwdriver, hammer, large C-clamp, wire brush, and jack and jack stands. Start off by using a 19 millimeter socket and loosen the black lug nut covers. Then this leads to taking the wheel cover off on this vehicle, may be different on yours. And then if you don't have the benefit of air tools, you'll want to loosen the lug nuts, then raise and secure the vehicle, then remove the lug nuts the rest of the way and remove the wheel and tire. You can inspect the brakes. The pads have good life on them on this vehicle, and you'll also want to inspect the rotor. Just run the back of your finger or a small screwdriver. You're checking for any large grooves. Even though these don't look too good, they are in great shape, so we'll actually just take them apart and put them back together to show you. Two 14 millimeter bolts hold the caliper to the caliper bracket. You're going to use a breaker bar. You can use a ratchet, a piece of pipe for some extra leverage to loosen those bolts. Finish removing the bolt, and then the caliper comes right up and off. And set it up top. And then you can just pull your pads right out, the inside and the outside. And then there's slides that you want to pull off of the caliper brackets. You'll want to clean those up later. And then there's two 13 millimeter bolts that hold the caliper bracket right there. Again, you'll want a breaker bar or a piece of pipe for some extra leverage. And we'll fast forward as we undo those. Okay, and as you remove that bolt, then that caliper bracket will come up and off. Now use a T30 Torx driver, and we recommend one that's on a ratchet like this style. It's a socket style. Hold it in place with the screwdriver and then remove the screw that holds the rotor on place. And once you get that screw off, use a hammer and a good wrap should break the caliper loose. Should break the rotor loose. Just make sure your caliper doesn't fall down, and then you can pull the rotor off. Okay, now we're going to prepare everything to go back together. As I said before, the brakes on this car were in good shape, so we're just going to put them back together. We're greasing the slide bolts that came out of the caliper bracket, and we're going to put a little bit of grease on the ends of the pads to make sure that they slide in the slides fairly well. And last but not least, we'll take a wire brush and we'll clean off those slides really well before we remount them. Here we'll just use some brake parts cleaner to clean off the rotor a little bit. And now we're ready to install. Put the rotor back on the hub. Reinstall that Torx 30 screw that holds the disc to the hub. And put the caliper bracket back in place and reinstall the two 13mm bolts that hold it in place. And we'll fast forward as we tighten those up. And now we're going to torque those to 75 foot-pounds. Now we can put those stainless steel slides back into the caliper bracket and reinstall our pads. Do the outer one first, it should press right in, and the inner one. When installing new pads, you'll need to reset the piston in the caliper, so use a large C-clamp and tighten down against the piston and drive it back into the caliper. And now we can put the caliper back on top of the caliper bracket and pads and start the bolts in. And we'll fast forward as we put those in, and you'll want to tighten them to 60 to 65 foot-pounds. And now we can keep the speed going as we put the wheel back in place, put the lug nuts on, and tighten them preliminarily. And with the vehicle back down on the ground and secured in place, torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds using a star pattern. And once you have them torqued, then you can put the wheel cover or cap back on and put that back in place. Just use your hand and a socket to tighten up those lug covers. And last but not least, always make sure you get in, pump the brake pedal a bunch of times, make sure you get a nice firm pedal before you road test the vehicle. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.